Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Cryptic Crypto, the channel that's giving you daily advice on the crypto market, where we're at, my trades, and much, much more. Please like and subscribe, and remember this is not financial advice, this is just my opinion of where I think the market is and where I think the market's going. So let's take a look at some crypto bubbles. So look, first of all, a bit of a nothing day, if I'm honest, in terms of things like, cool, you could say clankers down on the daily, but if we look on the month, it's the one that's outperforming it all, excluding obviously, well, Bitcoin's obviously performing well, but everything else is relatively down. SUI's had a pretty good week, I believe, 14.7, and yeah, it's been a pretty good week across the sort of crypto. Looking at the hourly, not a lot to report, and to be fair, I never really break it down that far. But let's take a look at some of the charts, kicking off with a bit of Bitcoin. Look, the Bitcoin dominance chart, bit of a nothing. Like I said, we've broken this line of resistance. We went up to retest it. We come back down. But yeah, again, it's not falling at a rate where, I'll be screaming from the rooftops, oh, coin season, let's go. But let's look at the Bitcoin price. Look, this bull flag is looking pretty good. We've turned this, sloping line of resistance into support, in my opinion. And looking at that, I'm looking for us to print above 110 for me to be ultra bullish, and for me to be pretty confident that we're going to break to 114 and 120k. To be honest with you, those are my immediate targets. Now, cool, lower low, lower low, higher low, but at the same time, it's pretty much there or thereabouts. So I can't really, until we break above this sort of 110k mark, you can't really be overtly like this is definitely happening, because I've seen a few people out there talking about fakeouts where we've broken the line of resistance, we think we're turning it into support, and then there's a huge move to the downside. And one bit I do want people to be careful around is, like, I'm looking at the liquidation map, and to be honest with you, people are beginning to pile on longs, which generally means that a lot of retail are piling on, thinking it's a sure thing, thinking when the price is only ever going to go up. And normally the market makers out there will look to fool you and will begin to push to the downside. So what am I doing to, safeguard my bets? Essentially, that's what they are. No one knows what's going to happen tomorrow, so it's all around making sure that we're trying to safeguard what we're doing. So I have, I've entered a trade, which I've shown on the previous ones, and will update on where I'm at in terms of my 500 to 5,000. We're almost at 1,000 already, which is great to see. But like in terms of this, look, I have a stop loss around 107,000. So if we do begin to fake out, and again, it could like just wick down and go back up, or it might not do that at all. But I need to safeguard my investment, because if we start piling the way down, all the profits that I've taken from 102 up to there will be lost. And I don't want that. I want to make sure that if the trade does stop out, it stops out in a profit. And okay, cool, if it then begins to pump up to the upside, yeah, okay, I would have not made the same amount of money as I would have, but I would have safeguarded that. I want to make sure that my losses that I make are low and my wins are big. But I also want to make sure that I'm consistently winning. And since obviously starting the channel and all my trades are out there, we haven't made a loss yet. That's not to say we're not going to. We're definitely going to make some losses, but it's all around winning more than we're losing. And when we do win, making sure we win big, because that stop loss, hopefully it doesn't get hit. But I will begin to take profits as we begin to go towards 120. Like I said, once we break 110, next time will be like 114 and then 120k. And I do believe that this is not a fake out, and the volume continues. I think it's going to be a success. And what's crazy to me is like Bitcoin in terms of searches, everything like out there. If you look at Google Trends, is still ridiculously low. But I do want to cover some other charts today, because this is the one I wanted to cover the other day, but obviously I didn't have it up. Look, really easy, bearish trend up here. Was easy to navigate, that we were going to go low, we were going to touch this. This has turned into support. We've hit it twice. If we hit it again, it's a trade which I said I wish I'd caught on to, because it was quite an easy long and quite an easy short, but I tend not to, in all honesty, do short. I've obviously played around with this chart. But I tend to not do obviously shorts during the doing what I believe is a bull market right now. So like I said, quite an easy one to have seen. Unfortunately, I missed it because there's also support if you went further back into sort of January, February time. And it is what it is. We don't hit them all, right? Let's look at XRP. Now, I have a trade open, and sometimes if we're up in this range, I would maybe close some of it out when we hit line of support. I'm not going to do that because we're getting closer and closer. And my honest opinion, with Ripple announcing that they're obviously going to go into banking, the SEC case looking like it's closed its door, XRP ETFs, I'm expecting this to absolutely explode. Now, it might not, and I could be completely wrong. I have stop losses in place, but looking at this, it's getting closer and closer and closer. If we look at the, let's look at the volume. Why not? Okay, the volume hasn't brilliant. Got two charts there. Hasn't been like excessive, but you can see like if you look at this chart when the ETF comes in, if we could get up Solana. You'll see that the volume has already increased in Solana, which is going to drive the price up, which brings me quite nicely onto Solana. So we broke this all the way up through both lines of resistance here, turned that into support, had a nice little pump. Look, we're pretty much bang on the 0.618 in terms of Fibonacci. We're pretty much exactly there, which I did not time, but that's where we are. And like I've told everyone on the channel, my next target is around 167 for that. Now, things can change in an instant. Like I'll go through some of the news in a second, and that can, change me from a short-term bull to a short-term bear, but overall, long-term, I am bullish. Let's look at SUI again. Look, quite an easy chart to navigate. Broken the line of resistance, broken this bullish fancy pennant, come up across. Looks like we might retest it, and then fingers crossed we'll go back to the upside. Really good to see SUI, above $3. Whilst I'm doing this, it's probably going to trade below. But look, it's gone from $2.28 all the way up to there. And if we just measure that in terms of an upside to where we are now, 30% move within, if we were on the daily, probably a couple of weeks, which is great to see. Some bullish momentum there from that perspective. So it's just a bit of overview of where I'm seeing the charts. Has anything changed from my opinion? No, but we are now beginning to break lines of resistance, and we are now beginning to look incredibly bullish on the short term, at least from that perspective, unless the dreaded fake out, which obviously I'm hoping it's not. I know there's some people that are going, it's a fake out, but look, there's always going to be people that doubt those things, and as long as we've safeguarded ourselves, we'll be absolutely fine. Look, victory, the one big beautiful bill passes US Congress as it heads to President Donald Trump's desk. What does this mean? I mean, to be honest, it means that the money printer is probably going to switch on. They're borrowing $5 trillion or something ridiculous, and the debt is just increasing, which is driving a bit of a rift between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. But we will run back through that to see if there's anything new and exciting that's been passed. Bitcoin, obvious breakout. I love this guy, Income Shark. He's incredibly bullish, but he's quite fair in terms of where his advice is. Again, give him a little like and subscribe. Marty Party as well. Remember the V, be prepared with limit longs. Someone definitely worth following if you're not. So US stock markets is hitting new all-time highs again today. Bitcoin will explode. I agree with that market sentiment. Generally, the Nasdaq is quite a good indicator for where our altcoins are going to go, and to be honest with you, it's looking pretty positive when you look at the S&P 500 and also when you look at the Nasdaq. So check out those charts, and if you want me to share them, like, subscribe, put a comment down below, and I'll be more than happy to put some of my trades in there. Look at this as well. DFI Corp, we're back to stacking SOL. Today we're announcing that we've acquired an additional 17,760 SOL. A little nod to the US Declaration of Independence signed on July the 4th, 1776 bullish for Solana. It can't be bearish. Look, businesses are buying not only Bitcoin now. There's a a company that's got a XRP treasury, Sol treasury, Sol and staking Sol ETFs. It's incredible. Breaking 147,000 non-farm jobs added in June, surpassing the expected 110,000. What does that mean? I mean, it's great to see that obviously unemployment rate dropped to 4.1%, surpassing expectations. But a lot of people don't look at the fact that this might put rate cuts, back a bit. And that's not good or bullish for crypto, because we obviously want rate cuts to come in now. But it is what it is. It's great to see, obviously, that's bullish for the economy, and good to see. First Solana staking ETF hits 12 million in healthy first day trading. Sorry about the cough, by the way. I'm a little bit sick, but here I am, still doing videos. So the United States' first Solana staking exchange ended the day with 12 million in inflows, a positive sign for crypto staking enabled ETFs. The fund trading under SSK gives investors direct exposure to spot Solana, along with staking yields, making the first crypto staking ETF to be approved in America. Huge. 8 million in trading volume in the first 20 minutes. This is massive for obviously Solana, to be fair. It means that more and more retail, more and more people can obviously enter into an ETF without necessarily having to hold it. I mean, I'm a big believer in not your keys, not your crypto, but the more money that enters it, hopefully that means a positive sign for obviously the price action that we're expecting. So for me, that's massively bullish. I mean, there was a bit of a comparison to XRP, but to be honest with you, I don't read into that too much, especially when people are talking about if crypto, here's Ripple price analysis, XRP's eyes $2.42 if volume confirms breakout. Look, I think this is the thing. I want you guys to do your own research and look at these different things. They're obviously saying the 200 moving average is support. That's pushed the price up, and they're expecting us obviously to hit $2.42. I think that's some quite easy technical analysis with some volume on the side there, but from my perspective, I want to see a clean break on this chart before I get ultra bullish. I mean, I'm very confident that we should be going through this, and I'm either going to see a move to the upside or a doom to the downside. And we've entered the trade early enough that we don't have to worry about that. And we've got our stop losses there to help us. Again, it's not financial advice, it's just letting you know. And like I said, look at all these different websites, have a look at different traders, different people on YouTube, get a bit of an understanding of where you're looking. But the low volume environment suggests accumulation phase. Breakout requires increased volume for confirmation. I do agree with that. There's not enough volume, and I'm pretty sure earlier in the video we literally looked at that. Look, yeah, volume isn't fantastic, but it only takes a bit of positive sentiment for that to move to the upside. So again, look, we're 0.32%, not really much of a move in terms of market cap. Neutral, again, altcoin season at 24. We're definitely not in the altcoin season. We're still thoroughly embedded in Bitcoin, but Ethereum over 2.5k, Bitcoin over 109k, almost at 110 already. XRP at $2.28. Good to see. Solana back over 150. This is all bullish. These are all things that we want to be looking out for. We've obviously gone through this. One thing I did want to cover is my days. Let's allow that. Look at Elon Musk. He has renewed calls to release the unredacted Jeffrey Epstein files. Weeks after accusing Donald Trump. Do you remember that absolute spat which sent the markets into a bit of a craze? He said, release the unredacted Epstein files. Yes, Musk responded without explicitly, God, I can't talk, without explicitly mentioning Donald Trump. I mean, how can you call someone out without calling someone out? And then, what else does he put? He's like, he's trying to create a new party under America. Now, I don't know, any of this, I don't think it's going to have an immediate reaction on the market unless the Epstein files are released. And Donald Trump is on there and something terrible happens and then we have a re-election. I don't think that's going to happen. But you know, he's releasing polls now saying the American Party has narrowly won for likely support from 40% of the people that obviously took that. Now, again, take that with a bit of a pinch of salt, but you know, the fact that the two of the most powerful men in the world are, you know, having a bit of a spat online doesn't really give a lot of confidence there. But the fact that Donald Trump, you know, I do think, you know, obviously Elon Musk wanted some allowances for EV, etc., and stuff like that. Donald Trump hasn't given that. He's now passed a massive, big, beautiful bill, which, you know, Elon Musk has said time and time and time again that you know, they can't, you know, his whole Doge thing was to reduce costs to the American people, reduce you know, spend, make sure borrowing isn't at an all-time high. And what Donald Trump has kind of done is gone, screw that, I'm going to do it. Let's borrow more, let's print more money, which obviously will higher inflation at some point. What is this bad noise? Besant is asked if he can be both the Fed chair and Treasury Secretary at the same time. Well, I mean, I don't really know what to read into that, but is there any other news that we should be looking at on here? Well, other than Conor McGregor, liquidation map. Again, Marty Party, have a little look. This is where he believes, obviously, the market where liquidations will occur. Like I said, guys, I hope you appreciate the video. Sorry for any coughing in between. I've just tried a new mic as well. I'd really appreciate if you could like and subscribe the channel. We've just gone over 200. We've only been online for a week now. I'm really pleased with how things are going. So please, you know, comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are and appreciate your time. Peace.